I was recently invited to Disney's London press conference of Alice Through the Looking Glass, and I'm delighted to bring you the entire press conference in full for your enjoyment.
Welcome to the Sarah Connell Show.
Please give a huge round of applause to our wonderful Tea Party guests this afternoon. Start off with director James Bobbin, Sacha Baron Cohen, Mr. Johnny Depp, Mia Wasikowska.
Am I here?
You go.
Okay, yes.
Suzanne Todd and Tim Burton.
Yes? Very nice.
Welcome.
A lot of
Thank you.
Am I supposed to?
Welcome. They're real, so dive in. James, I'd like to start with you, if that's
Please,
all right.
please, yes.
You can read this upside down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You're intrigued by
Sorry, what
time,
happened?
which is a big part and a big theme of this film as well.
Yes,
But
yes.
the main theme of this film, I take away from it being a woman, is a strong female character that you've told so brilliantly in this film.
Thank you.
Continue to tell as well in this
Thank you. Well, yeah, I think it's a very important part of the Alice tradition is that Alice is such a strong character. And, and you know, I think Lewis Carroll wrote it like that, as like...
Just to end in disaster.
If you're very still, that will...
That's
Oh!
And I saved 4 of them.
All right, good. That's enough. That's all good. But yeah, no. So I think Lewis Carroll was very keen to make sure that everyone understood that Alice was kind of part of this new generation of women who were very different to their predecessors, and weren't prepared to stand for the status quo for much longer. And that happened. Alice's generation is a generation that grew up to be suffragettes, so they changed the world in many ways. And I think Alice was part of that generation, so that's very important to me.
Sasha, your turn, sir.
Yes.
Time is, I find time is really you never quite know if, whose side he's on, this good guy, bad guy sort of thing. But a lot of his stories told not just through the script, but his kind of physicality as well. Did you have fun kind of bringing that to life in a way, from what was on the script?
I was very depressed at the time. This guy here was bullying me. There were sort of elastic bands thrown at me. He had his security team hound me.
Wow.
Pin me down. I think the term is wedgied by a large man from Zambia.
Yeah, your pin down was...
I was pinned down.
it was a
You're a
different
big
thing.
man.
I was overwhelmed. It was...
Well, so was the person pinning you down.
yeah.
The grinding.
But
upside down.
time is a character. He is kind of,
Time is a
he's
character,
complex, which is a great...
He is complex. Was that the character I was doing?
That was your character.
All right,
yeah.
I thought I was doing Hatter. No, time is... What you want? I managed to... I wanted to wear tights in the movie because I have a sort of lady's legs. And that's not a gender-specific comment. Yeah, exactly. So, thank you. And so it was very important for me to have a kind of tighted character.
Okay.
And also I sort of tried to create this character who was immature, incredibly narcissistic, and ill-suited for the most important job in the world. So a bit like Donald Trump. So it was a dream come true.
Perfect. Johnny, you must have enjoyed bringing this wonderful character back to life, but also exploring different characteristics that we didn't see in the previous film that we very much get to see in this film.
Yeah, no, it was great to come back and explore this story of Alice and the Hatter.
That's not what you told me.
I actually did the movie on a dare. I did. Somebody wanted me to run a mile, and I said, no, I'm not gonna do it. It turned into this thing. We fought. He knows karate. He came in, made a deal, and I did it.
Yeah, certainly overpowered you.
But it shows a very different side of the Hatter. That beyond the multi-personality Hatter. It shows a Hatter that goes near to his lowest point.
Alice, it's so important with Alice to make this emotional connection with her as an audience, and you really do in this film in terms of the journey that you're on with her, sort of thing. Was it kind of fun to explore that?
Yeah, it was great. It was like, I think doing the film again, everybody sort of knew a little bit more what to expect, and it was just, it was really fun. I mean, and I think James pushed everybody in a kind of emotional way, and then also sort of brought his own humour to it, which was really great. And yeah, it was great.
Suzanne, that's such an important point, isn't it? The humour to it and the tone of the film as well as this absolutely gorgeous script as well that Linda wrote. What was it about Linda's script that you kind of thought, she nailed it in terms of where you wanted to take the film?
Well, we took a long time developing the script after the first movie had come out, and this notion of time, this theme of time, which, James and Sasha brought so much comedy to it, but there's also a lot of emotion to that idea in the film, the preciousness of time and how any of us on any given day don't necessarily spend our time doing the things that are the most important to us. And when you watch the film, you'll probably take a second thought about how you spend the time in your day.
And Tim, sir, hello at the end there. You're here as an exec producer on this film, but very much agreed with James being the choice for director for this. Why was he the right man for this job?
He wanted to do it. That's primary one thing. But also he just had an enthusiasm, and I just, he just had a take on it that I just felt really, really, positive about. And it, you just, for me, it was kind of a fluke, the first one anyway. So the idea that he had such a positive and clear idea about it, I just thought, well, yeah, it needs a different energy, and anything I can do to support that, again, because these are big things, and it needs somebody that has that energy and focus and idea about it to pull it off.
This is a question for Johnny Depp. I was wondering, considering that this is the second time you play Mad Hatter, what stayed on you this time? And now you're starting giving concerts with Hollywood vampires. I was wondering what's happening when you're on stage. It's the real Johnny Depp, was also a character.
Well, music was my first love, at the age of 12, and I haven't stopped playing since. It's still my first love. But there was a certain point when I reached, that area of your, what they call a career, where people start to know who you are from one particular field. And having had been a musician all my life, I knew that it was over. That dream that I'd had since I was 12 was kind of just done. It was over with. And I was fine. I'd, play on people's records, friends' albums and whatnot, and just keep a low profile. But then Alice, when we had Alice in Dark Shadows, and he asked me to jam with him at the 100 Club, which was a real honor, and played a few songs, and then he asked me if I felt like writing some songs with him. So I wrote about 5 or 6 songs, came to LA, and then suddenly it started, I thought I was writing songs for Alice Cooper, and then suddenly it turned into this Hollywood Vampires thing. So yeah, I just get to play the guitar, stand in the dark, and it's a gas. So it's like movies become my day job, and then but doing this film again, coming back into the Hatter was a real treat, because you always feel, even though I'm not a big movie watcher, myself, you always feel like there's something more you could do. You always feel like, God damn, I should have put that there, or and with coming back, we had the opportunity to do that, and I think make a more interesting performance.
What do you think a modern audience can take from it today, and what would you like young girls to take from the Alice character?
I just think it's really great how at the beginning of this film she's been travelling for the last 2 years, and she's been so empowered and really knows who she is, and then she's quite disappointed when she comes back to England to see that expectations of her are so low, and just that she has this innate sense that she sort of deserves more than that, or even just to be happy or to be able to do what she wants is really great, and just that angle, and also that we're sort of satiring female hysteria, which was taken, you know, very seriously not that long ago. So just, I think it's, you know, really wonderful that, you know, we've come quite a long way, and there's still a long way to go, but it's really lovely that that'll be the first kind of contact for a lot of young girls and boys also.
I think there's something too about for women in their 20s that, in terms of what modern audiences can relate to, that Alice is at that point where she knows what she wants to do with her career, and she's very focused on that. But then she also has to deal with her relationships at home and redefining her relationship with her mother, which happens with your parents in your 20s, or trying to figure out your own romantic relationships, or it's sort of a turning point, you know, for all young women at that age. And I think that modern audiences will absolutely relate to on Alice's journey.
Yeah, her mum says it best. Her mum says in the film, Alice can do whatever Alice chooses to do. And that, for a woman of that time, that's very unusual, because in Victorian England, you had to do what you were told, pretty much, if you were a girl. And that, I think, is what Alice teaches her mum in this movie. So it's a really nice message, and I think that's very important today, too.
Or sadly, there are some people today still trying to tell girls they have to do what they're told.
Exactly.
So we're still pushing back on that.
No, I know.
Right?
Yeah, not one yet.
Right.
Was it deliberate that woman was the last word of the script?
Yes.
Great.
Saw the film last night. I was fascinated by Time's accent. Is he and his seconds, are they German? Is that a compliment to German timekeeping, perhaps? Or
is he? He's Germanic. He's I don't know, Bavarian-y kind of. I don't know. I've got no idea.
For me, he's kind of Bavaria via California. That's why I like him. He's kind of mid-Atlantic.
You know, he has that kind of, overly pompous, very emphatic way of talking, where everything seems very crucial, even though it can be complete nonsense.
We get to see the Mad Hatter as a little boy, very sweet and creative, with that creative flair. But he's still like a normal boy. But then we left wanting to know more about the Mad Hatter. Maybe, you know, what can you tell us about how did he get mad? And maybe, is there going to be a film about like a sort of prequel or standalone Mad Hatter film?
Well, Harvey Weinstein made him mad once. Disney made him mad a couple of times.
Something in the
made him mad?
backstory?
Well, actually, the thing with the Hatters back in the 19th century was that when they're doing a beaver pelt top hat, the glue, all the glue that they used to put the pelt and to dress it up, it was rife with mercury, and so it ended up at that time. I mean, you know, that Hatters actually, there was a thing. Hatters started going a little, sideways. And they figured out it was the mercury, so hence the sort of the orange and the green and he'd spent his entire life around it. But that's a true story, yeah, Hatters used to go crazy because of the mercury.
There are several scientists who believe in time traveling, or that there are time levels. So how fascinated are you by this idea, and would you like to travel in the past or in the future, and what would you change?
Probably all right, not traveling in time. It's not anything I really want to do again, I think. But yeah, I think it's, I like what the film says about time, which is that, it's very much about kind of accepting what's happened and that kind of freeing you to live a bit more comfortably in the present. And but yeah, if I did travel, I'd probably like do something really boring, like I would probably want to be like 1 year old and have someone like look after me and, you know, be in a pram or something.
Well, I can do that.
Maybe after this.
I'm free.
Okay. All right, I'll do that.
Thank you.
You don't need to time travel.
Thank you for that question.
Ask Johnny.
If you could choose 3 people, dead or alive, to invite to a Mad Hatter's tea party, who would be there and why?
3? 3's hard. I don't know. Oscar Wilde?
Yeah.
He's quite a good one. Charles Dickens?
Yeah.
Also very good.
It's quite a highbrow chat.
Yeah, I know, it's a very highbrow chat. You can't get someone
boring.
slightly more low. And Charlie Chaplin.
Nice.
There you go. There you go.
Mia, have you got 3?
Yeah. I would choose Patti Smith and Mary Shelley and Amy Winehouse.
Oh, very good.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
I have a question for Mr. Bobbin and Mr. Burton. If you could tell us a little bit more about how you collaborated, because you're returning to this universe that was so distinctively created for the first time for the movies by Mr. Burton.
Well, from my point of view, it was from the very outset. I remember going to see Tim in Vancouver to talk about making the movie, and he gave me a warning saying how hard it was. And did I listen? No, I'm still here today. But his amazing advice initially was don't shoot on green because it sends you completely crazy. So I didn't do that. I shot on blue. That was incredibly helpful. And then from that day onwards, he created such a beautiful world in the first movie. I felt very much we had to create this one within the parameters of that world. So, you know, in terms of like character design and location design, it was very helpful. And then, of course, script stuff. And then, actually, obviously, Tim lives in London. So he shot here in London, too, which was very helpful. So he was around for that. So, no, it was incredibly helpful for me because it's like, you know, it's his world. So I was just very pleased to be able to draw on his experience of it.
But really important as well for you to make it your world as well.
Yeah, no, for sure, no, because obviously I felt that this film is set in a different time period and it's set in different geographical locations. There's a certain different feel I could bring to it to a degree, but I felt it had to stay within the same universe, you know, in terms of, course, the characters pre-existed, and I felt that Sasha's character had to very much fit in the kind of, you know, paint box of those people. And so that's why we went with a sort of, I always think about silhouettes in character design. His silhouette is very striking, gigantic shoulder pads. You know, and it's like, for me, it's like he designed it because he's a show-off. And so therefore he'd want to impress people.
My character.
So his character, not so. No, so it just felt like he very much fitted into that world, you know, so that was kind of good.
There's the scene with, which is the tea party that Time is at as well, is fantastic, where all the characters are just ripping the...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, every time pun possible.
Such a great scene. Was that fully scripted, or was it, I mean, how was that kind of done?
Some of it. I mean, these guys like talking, you may have noticed, especially together. And there's a whole, if you ever delve into the depths of the DVD extras, you'll find moments of the two of them just making the noise at each other for about 5 minutes, which is...
I think we did do one improv take during that lasted so long, and the studio was so hot.
Yeah, it's
because
very
it's blue screen, so it's just
lights.
Filled with lights. I think the camera melted.
Yeah, basically the camera broke down.
That's how long the improv take was.
The camera broke down. They broke the camera.
Which was probably about half an hour or something.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It was probably about 30 minutes of James just let Sasha and I...
It's the hard R-rated version of Alice in Wonderland.
Exactly.
And so peripherally, as you're about kind of 15 minutes into this giant improv, and you don't see anywhere that it's going to stop, peripherally, I just saw crew members walking off to lunch.
Oh, it's a good sign.
Thinking, yeah, we'll probably have to end this.
The lights going off. Just everything.
But we didn't. Yeah. It was too much fun.
Yeah.
Was it nice to explore a bit more depth to the character, I guess?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. What was really interesting about playing the Hatter this time, in the first film with Tim, the Mad Hatter, it's the Mad Hatter. So there's pretty much there's a good deal of license that you can take, and interesting places that you could travel, within the context of the character, the Mad Hatter. But when you're dealing with the Mad Hatter, who has gone noticeably farther down that road of insanity, it's like that thing, it's like you know, if you are crazy, if there's, you know, if you do have, you know, some sort of mental, you know, some sort of dilemma in the brain, if you're not aware of it, it's great, you know. If you're aware that you're crazy, it'll eat you alive. So I think in this Hatter, there's so many things that he has to question, and he has to travel in so many different spots. So basically, it's taking the Mad Hatter and making him infinitely more mad, more confused, more lost, more paranoid, more even violent, you know. So that was a great challenge, you know.
Yeah, when we talked about it initially, it was the idea of what is madness to a mad person?
Yeah.
And it kind of almost draws towards sanity. So you're wearing a suit, you have smart hair, and you're quite cogent at points, but there's always an element of madness about it too, so that's kind of an interesting idea, I thought.
I'm Alberto from Caras Magazine Argentina. The question is for Johnny Depp. We are talking about time, but the movie is about family and getting back the family together. And I was thinking, if you had a chance and you're walking down the street and you see a boy, a 6-year-old boy, that happens to be yourself, he doesn't know, and you had a chance...
Is this about to get weird?
No. Maybe, I don't know. But you have the chance to give him 3 advices and maybe changing his future, your own past, and changing your future. What advices could you give him? Regarding your artistic career, your personal life, I don't know, but...
First thing I would say is search for simplicity. Stay away from anything that makes a bunch of people stare at you while you're in a restaurant.
Okay.
Or makes them follow you in cars and motorcycles back to your hotel. Or try to avoid people who write incredibly, sometimes entertaining, but incredibly ludicrous fiction about you and your family. So those are a couple of things I would avoid.
George from the National Student. This is a question for Mia. So the film opens and for me was quite an unexpected and immediate scene where you're at sea and you've got pirates chasing you. I was wondering what it was like when you opened the script to be presented with such an immediate scene where Alice is like being a female action hero but not a conventionally masculine one, and you know what it was what it was like to see her being so fearless. Did that excite you or whatever?
Yeah, well, I thought they'd accidentally given me Alice of the Caribbean or something. But no, it was really cool to be given something that was very active, and she comes from a place where she's been a captain of a ship for 2 years and feeling incredibly empowered and doing what she loves, and so it was it was really fun. It was it sets up except for shooting it, which was in the last 3 days and 3 nights of being wet and freezing in flips. And
Mia was blue on set. She has blue.
Yeah, blue lips.
It's properly
quite a
cold.
trooper always.
Properly cold. So she's a trooper because she's also wet and cold,
Yeah.
which is massively unappealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Aren't you guys impressed when you watch the movie at everything that she pulls off? It's pretty incredible.
Was it a tank? Were you filming in a tank? I mean,
it was a gimbal we built out in Longcross, so not in the sea. We had these enormous 2-ton tanks of water splashing everywhere, and it was 3 in the morning and freezing in November.
Wow.
So Mia was very brave to...
I
missed that one.
Could have made the water warm.
Yeah, no, too expensive. Forget it. Sorry.
William from Gay Times. My question is to James and to Tim. Do you both believe that there's an accurate and fair representation of LGBT characters in Disney movies today to teach the next generation about the ever-changing world that we all live in?
That's a jolly good question. I think so. I mean, it's hard. It's I think something everyone's very aware of these days. And whenever you make anything, it's something you always, because it's part of the world you live in. And I think when you make a film these days, you can't help but put that into it anyway. And so, people always say to me, "How do you update Lewis Carroll?" You say, "I just do what I think is interesting and important." So yeah, I think so. It's one of the things that I think people are always very aware of. I'm pretty sure.
We have to label it. Shows how bad things really are. So I mean, I'm not really one for trying to be politically correct or do this or that, but I do think that you know, it's just unfortunate that we even have to talk about it, and then how do you deal with it? I don't know. But you know, it's unfortunate. But you know, I mean, I don't know what that is anyway, because I don't know what's like, you know. I guess I'm confused. I don't know whether I'm gay or straight, or half of my friends are, or if they're men or women. So I'm way behind.
I'm gay and I'm a woman.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and your questions. Please, can you give a round of applause to our wonderful
Thanks, everyone.
cast today? Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed watching the Alice Through the Looking Glass press conference. Please be sure to subscribe to watch all the latest episodes of The Sarah O'Connell Show, and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye!